let me just welcome everybody. So glad to see you here tonight. Hope everybody's off to a good start in the new year. Really appreciate all the interest and time that y'all are taking to come and be with us tonight. Let me just say, first of all, we are going to have sort of two meetings tonight. The first meeting will be a special call meeting for the purpose of filling some vacancies on the Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals. So we'll have this focused special call meeting, and then we're going to continue with a workshop. This is a workshop you all heard me speak about, and commissioners will talk about our priorities for the next 2 years. And so I really think it would be useful for us as a commission to have an intentional work plan. And so we'll be discussing what our priorities will be for this term of our commission that goes through 2026. So y'all are welcome to stay and participate in both meetings, but we'll begin tonight with our special call meeting. So commissioners, if you're ready, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, commissioners. As I mentioned, the purpose of this special call meeting is to appoint members to the Planning Commission and to the Board of Zoning Appeals. I'd like to stay focused on this task, acknowledging that we have a plan to have further discussion about improving the processes for the Planning Commission during our subsequent workshop. That discussion will talk about a process for a more formal role for the Board of Commissioners in appointing members of the Planning Commission, any adaptation that we may need for calls of expression of interest, training of members, and a code of conduct. But for this meeting, I'd like to hold on those things while we review some of the nominees that we have for Planning Commission. We have one vacancy on the Planning Commission and 2 vacancies on the Board of Zoning Appeals. I'd like to note that currently members of the Planning Commission are appointed by the mayor, and members of the Board of Zoning Appeals are appointed by the Board of Commissioners. And while I've indicated that I would support changing this in the future, tonight we'll follow the current rules. What I would propose for the Planning Commission is that we follow a similar process for reviewing and discussing expressions of interest as we will for the BZA, and I will take the recommendation for the Board of Commissioners for that position. So effectively, you'll get to have input on the Planning Commissioner nominee tonight. So the way I would propose that we would proceed tonight is that we would have a brief round of input from commissioners on characteristics that are important to consider for Planning Commissioners and members of the Board of Zoning Appeals. I'll start, and then I would invite commissioners to provide any thoughts about, in general, what are important characteristics that we would like to see in the members of our Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals. Then we'll have a second round of comments about any specific nominees and their qualifications. You all have received expressions of interest. We were pretty generous, I think, in time frame for getting those in, but we are blessed that we have so many people that want to help us in the work of the city. So we are fortunate to have so many nominees for these positions. I don't imagine it would be feasible to speak about every nominee, but if commissioners have any specific thoughts about the qualifications and suitability of nominees, that would be the time to express those thoughts. Again, I'll be happy to start and then continue with any comments from any commissioners. After the discussion, I'll ask each commissioner for the names, one name for Planning Commissioner and 2 names for Board of Zoning Appeals members. I'll ask the interim city manager to help me keep track a little bit on this. Following a round of polling, we'll see if any of these nominees have 3 or more votes indicating a majority. And if there is no majority, we will then exclude the nominee with the fewest votes for Planning Commission and BZA respectively, and conduct a further round of polling until we have a majority in favor of 1 Planning Commissioner and 2 BZA members. Once we've completed the polling, I'll ask for a motion to accept the nominees for BZA members and the recommendation for Planning Commission. Does that sound like an acceptable approach? And do you have any questions or clarification? Okay, and we'll try to be expeditious so anybody not feeling well, get out as quickly as possible. Okay. So let's start with some characteristics for Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals members. One of the first things I think is very important are skills and experience. So having some knowledge about building codes, about planning, zoning would be very helpful. It's not required, but those are very important skills. We have to have the knowledge to be able to make good decisions. As you all heard me say, our job is to write good ordinances and follow them and try to make good decisions. We have folks with a variety of experience, and so beyond building and construction and planning and things like that, there are other valuable skills that would be helpful serving as a member of one of these Planning Commission or Board of Zoning Appeals. Second thing, characteristic that I think is important is a connection with the city and local community. We've also talked about, should we have a requirement that says you have to be a city resident? You have to be a full-time city resident to participate in one of these Planning Commission or Board of Zoning Appeals. Should you be in the 37882 as your principal residence? We have that requirement for some of our different councils and committees. Right now, there's not anything, any requirements on that. But I do think it's important to have a strong connection to the city and to our local community. So when I'm looking at the candidates, that's one of the things that I'm interested in taking a look at. Also, willingness to receive training. I would like to see our planning commissioners, no matter how long or how much experience they've had, to commit to a course of training. I'll try to get some recommendations from MTAS, but it's important, especially for our planning commissioners and also for our members of Board of Zoning Appeals, to be up to speed and have as much training as possible. I recognize it's a volunteer position and that would require additional time and effort on behalf of these members. But beyond just having a lot of knowledge and experience, it's probably important to be up to speed on the latest training requirements, and having adequate training will allow more people to participate in this. So if you're not somebody that has deep knowledge on construction or something like that, you can get training. So you all know I'm a veterinarian and I'm able to be trained. So willingness to receive training would be an important characteristic. Willingness to do their homework. It's important to take the time to carefully review these site plans and ordinances. Showing up with the expectation that you can rely on your knowledge and skills and look at that site plan for 10 minutes before the meeting is not the best way to make good decisions. And so we need to make sure that everyone is committed to doing their homework before they show up so that we can make good decisions. Code of conduct, I've mentioned this in several situations. I do think we have to make good decisions. Number one, these members have to understand what the scope of their responsibility is. They have to follow the rules. They have to make decisions that are within the scope of their remit. Personal opinions on aspects of the submission outside the rules should not be entertained. In other words, you can't just say no because you don't like it. If it follows the rules, then there's decisions that have to be taken based on that. So these members of the Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals should be prepared to raise questions when the submissions don't appear to comply with the ordinance or other requirements, and they need to justify those. It's the same for Board of Commissioners. When we make a decision, we have to be able to justify that. Otherwise, we're not going to be making good decisions. Where ordinances need to be improved, commissioners can advocate for specific improvements and follow the city processes. So if there are places in our ordinances, and we've had some discussion that need improvement, or maybe people don't feel the same way they did 20 years ago when it was put in place, there's a process for that. But you have to follow the rules. And so willingness to follow the rules is really important when I'm looking at new members. Do not discuss matters before the commission board outside of the appropriate venue, we have to follow the Tennessee Open Meetings Act and Open Records Act. It's the law. And so we have a venue for discussing these things, and we need to make sure that we have those discussions in the right venue. We have to state potential conflicts of interest, indirect or direct, and be prepared to recuse ourselves when that's appropriate. So any member that is planning to serve on one of these commissions, they need to understand when they have a direct or indirect conflict of interest and be able to state that. Once recused, they should not further engage in discussion on the matter. They should be prepared to challenge and be challenged over potential conflicts of interest. And they always need to maintain an appearance of impartiality in personal and official communications. This is really important. So if you're serving in one of these roles, you have to be impartial and you have to be objective. I've got some more things here. I'm going to stop in the interest of time. One of these has to do with social media. And I will pause on this because I didn't get a chance to say all I wanted to say on another time about social media. I've shared with you all that I have some concerns about social media. I do believe that there is a useful dialogue that can happen when our citizens are well informed and have the ability to raise the awareness of our meetings and opportunities to provide input. Social media does a good job for raising awareness. But I believe that I would caution commissioners and members of official boards about engaging in social media. I've heard concerns about citizens taking to social media to advocate for specific matters before the city. Usually matters that come before the city have a number of factors to be considered. Rules and regulations that must be taken into consideration to make a good decision. One that is consistent with the desires of our citizens and our communities. When you look at those rules and regulations, that's the desire of our community. There's a way to change it if our desires have changed, but we have to follow that. And when you take that before the city, that's the best place to have that discussion. The city is not resourced to be able to monitor and respond to discussions on social media, nor would it be legal to do so in certain cases. We seek to inform our citizens and our community through a growing number of initiatives, such as posting our agendas and meeting minutes on the city website, and more recently, recording and posting video from our public meetings. I would encourage citizens to obtain information directly from the city and view cautiously any information posted on public and particularly private social media sites where feedback may be curated, moderated, excerpted, or otherwise skewed. And respect. Disparaging of city employees, volunteers is not acceptable. That includes all forms of communications, written, email, especially social media. If somebody wants to get my support for a planning commissioner or board of zoning appeals, we need to respect city employees and volunteers. We're fortunate to have the hard work and dedication of our city staff. They have many opportunities to work elsewhere, often for increased pay, but they choose to serve the citizens of Townsend and the Tuckaleechee Cove community. They should never be taken for granted or forced to endure disparaging remarks. Our city commissioners live in Townsend and experience every benefit and hardship of all of our citizens. They receive many complaints and little recognition or praise. They serve our citizens and community with the most minimal compensation, $50 a month. They seek to take all feedback and make good decisions on complicated and multifaceted issues. Our volunteers on our growing number of committees and support groups donate their time and efforts for the sole intention to keep Townsend a nice place to live and work. And so I won't tolerate any disparaging of the city employees or volunteers. Verbal or physical abuse of anyone, especially city employees and volunteers, absolutely unacceptable. So with these characteristics in mind, those are some of the things, commissioners, I'm looking for in these council and committee members. I welcome any other feedback.
I think you spoke it very well.
Kind of hard to top that. But you're correct on everything you just said. I think as going through it, first of all, let me say, I think we had, 13 applicants in total, and for BZA or planning, and, thank you all for submitting and being interested in serving. It's no easy job, but one of the things that I look for when I'm looking for the candidates is not only experience, do they live in Townsend, do I see their faces at meetings, how engaging are they in the community, and what kind of experience they have. So that's kind of what I look for, and can you work with them? Are they going to do their homework and things like that? So that's kind of what I'm looking for when I go through these. And but we have a lot of really good applicants, and it's hard to only pick 3 tonight. So.
And I will mention that we will have additional opportunities going forwards, and so we will have to select from a large number of candidates tonight, but there will be additional opportunities going forward. Any other commissioners want to offer any characteristics or things they want to keep in mind? Okay. Now would be the time to talk about any of the nominees that we reviewed. We are blessed, I think, to have a number of really good nominees, folks that I have seen at different meetings that I've had a chance to work with. I'll speak about a few folks on this list that I've had personal experience with that I think could do a really good job. One of the first people I'll speak about, I don't see her here tonight, is Christina Delaney. Christina has applied to be on the Planning Commission. Christina has shown up at virtually every meeting that I've been at over the last 3-4 years. She comes to a lot of meetings and really has a lot of input to offer. Commissioners, you've seen her nomination in there. Ted Godfrey has also got a lot of deep experience and knowledge about this community. I've served with Ted on the Planning Commission and on the City Council. Been my great privilege, and I think Ted brings a lot of experience there as well. Steve Fillmore also has served on the Planning Commission. He's got a lot of knowledge and some of these construction and development things. I've really come to appreciate his technical skills. He's applying for the BZA. Tommy McAvoy, I've heard her come and speak before us many times on behalf of the community. She does a really good job, I think, representing a lot of these views and perspectives of the community. She's very articulate, and I feel like she would be able to articulate any concerns or identify anything that she thought was an important thing with respect to the rules and regulations. I also saw Alan Hawley, his application. He has served as a former planning commissioner in Senatobia, Mississippi. And so he's actually served as a chair of a planning commission and has a lot of experience there. Gordon Wright, we've seen him at a number of our meetings, and he has also shared a whole variety of opportunities, I think, with commissioners over time. Aaron Anderton, I think Aaron has also similarly appeared at a number of our meetings and shared some thoughts with us as well. And
Question about Erin. It wasn't marked. Is she wanting planning, BCA, or both?
I think Erin is open to either one. I've got her on the list for both. Erin, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, that's comments that I wanted to, I wanted to also call out John McMahon, serves on the Community Plan Advisory Committee. I think that he's open to Planning Commission and BZA, and he's been a very good person to have on that Community Plan Advisory Committee. Commissioners, any other questions you'd like, or comments you'd like to make on specific?
I've got a question. A person that's applying for the Planning Commission, if they're on the Community Plan Committee who reports to the Planning Commission,
do they need to resign from the community plan group because they can't represent both fairly?
The Community Plan Advisory Committee, I had to think about that. The Community Plan Advisory Committee is a recommending body to the Planning Commission. So it serves to make a recommendation on that. If there was a planning commissioner that then appeared on that, was selected to be on the Planning Commission, I think it might have to give that some consideration, I think, because they'd be recommending and approving.
Yes, and the planning commission will be recommending to the city commission. So they're both recommending, whether, the community plan is recommending to the planning commission is recommending to the city commission.
Right. I think if they wanted to be on the Planning Commission, and we thought they would do a good job on the Planning Commission, you give them an opportunity to figure out what they're going to do.
Choose one or the other.
Do one or the other if they were selected on that. Other comments?
I'll make some more comments,
Okay.
just like,
This is the time, and then we'll begin our polling.
just like Kelsey said, there's some attributes that I think are important. I think experience is really important. Doesn't necessarily have to be experience sitting on a committee at Townsend. It could be experience, and I'll just use engineering curriculum, for instance. They know how to read specifications, they know how to apply. Experience to me is really important. Active people that come to the meetings, volunteer for stuff, have an opinion. I think it's important that the person we choose, persons that we choose to be active. I also think it's important that they have concerns. They voice what they think. They might not agree with everybody else, but they need to be a concerned person. And this is my own bias. I think they need to actually be a citizen inside the city limits. But I know that really reduces the quantity of volunteers available. So I can understand people having a different opinion about that. Those are the things I think are important.
Any other reflections? Okay. Well, with that, commissioners, I'll go down the row. I'll start with Commissioner Jenkins. We'll go down this way.
You need to clarify. Are we talking about planning commission or are we talking about BZA? Because
Yeah, I think I'm going to try to do them both at the same time. And here's how I'm going to try to do it. And you tell me if you think it will work before we get started. I'm going to ask each commissioner to give one name for planning commission and two names for BZA. And then we're going to see how many votes we get for each person. And if we get 3 votes for any one person, that seems like that would indicate a majority.
okay.
Unless you want to just take them one at a time, we can do planning commission first.
It's up to you how you want to do it. The only request I've got is every time we take a vote, to start with me. I'd like you to start with somebody else.
All right, well, we'll start at this end of the table. And then the next time, we'll start with Commissioner Satterfield. And then the next time, we'll start with Commissioner Martin.
What about secret ballot?
Well, I think we need to have it open so that everybody gets to hear.
And then whoever started it, it might influence whoever's down the line.
Yeah.
It's good for the drop in it again.
You could drop a name and then I could read it. But how do we know who voted for which one?
Doesn't matter as long as we,
Okay. On a piece of paper and pass
Do
it
we need to
down.
specify who we're picking for planning and who the two
Right,
is
for
we're
planning,
going
who
to
for-
Okay.
And then we'll pass them down to the city manager and she can tally and report. How's that? All right, will that work? All right, thank you. We're all going to have to endorse them at the end. So whoever comes out of the polling will have to get the endorsement all the
No, I couldn't fit on the same one, sorry.
All right, when you're ready, I'll collect them. I think what you can do is you can just tally and say how many votes we have for each name. Commissioners only vote for, give you two different names for BZA. For the same person.
Do you want to investigate this? Thank you.
That's easy. Here's my secret now.
I'm not gonna You passed it over.
Yeah, it's something else first. There's another one, but.
Okay,
You want me to read all the results?
yeah, let's start with Planning Commission. Let's see
Okay.
what we got for Planning Commission.
Okay, we had one vote for Christina Delaney, one vote for Aaron Anderson, 3 votes for Joanne Funk.
3 votes for
Joanne Funk.
Joanne Funk, okay. All right, sounds like we've got a majority for Planning Commission. Joanne Funk.
And then for BCA, we had 1 vote for Steve Fillmore, 4 votes for Tommy McAvoy, 1 vote for John McMahon, 1 vote for Harry McIntosh, and 1 vote for Aaron Anderson.
All right, so we've got 4 votes for McAvoy. And then we've got 1 for Fillmore, 1 for McMahon, and after that,
1 for McIntosh, and 1 for Anderson.
1 for McIntosh and 1 for Anderson. All right, let's do another round. We'll have, McAvoy's got a majority, and so then we'll have another round of voting between Fillmore, I'll let you read them, just make sure you've got it.
Fillmore, McMahon, McIntosh, and Anderson.
Okay. All right.
Were we supposed to do just one name?
Just one name on this.
Okay, because somebody had 2 written on here.
All right, who had 2?
Someone's got a blue pen.
You're just picking one out of these other names, but McAvoy's already got 4 votes on the jury.
Was that from before?
We need to do it again?
Yeah, do it again.
All right, this time,
Just one name.
give one name.
No room for next year.
There's nothing left, we're leaving nothing on the table tonight.
You drew yours up too.
There you go.
Yes, parts.
Yeah.
Yes, parts.
Okay, we have 2 for John McMahon, 1 for Harry McIntosh, 1 for Aaron Anderson, and 1 for Noah.
Okay? Now, we have to,
2 for John McMahon.
okay, let's try again, commissioners. Now, we need to narrow this down, so I would call on you to think about the qualifications that we discussed, the different characteristics, and to try to see if we can get a majority on these 4 nominees. So see if you can come to some.
Can we go over the qualifications of these folks since we've narrowed it down?
Okay, we can review these 4, maybe that would help. Thank you very much for that suggestion. We'll take turns, whoever's got one up. One of these 4 can sort of summarize their qualifications, and you can have a little summary on each.
Okay, I'll go ahead and read Ms. Anderson's, let's see, do you want me to just?
Yep.
Okay. It says here that Aaron Anderson has been here full-time, 1.5 years, second home 5 years, present past community volunteer activities, none recently due to relocating from Florida. Reasons for desire to serve on this board or commission: I fell in love with Townsend, Tennessee the moment I saw it back in 2015. I would love the opportunity to help make a difference in the community and the residents of this town. It will allow me to network and get to know the residents of this town now that I call home. That was hers. And I'll go ahead and read
Yeah, go ahead.
Steve's.
You got it.
Okay, Steve Fillmore, 3 years full-time, 25 part-time, prior appointed or elected offices held, planning commission, past, present, community volunteer activities, Kiwanis Heritage Center Board, New Hope Child Advocacy Center. Reasons or desire to serve on this board or commission: enjoy doing my civic duty by utilizing my experience as an engineer to participate in decisions affecting my local community. Who were the other 2? I don't remember.
McIntosh
And John.
and McMahon.
Okay, Harry's was pretty lengthy. He had attached, let's see.
Maybe you can just give a thumbnail there.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just read his interest. My interest is in helping shape the future of Townsend from a planning perspective. I've owned property in Case Cove Reserve and currently live in Laurel Valley. I've also developed a 13-lot subdivision in Laurel Valley, built multiple spec houses in Laurel Valley and Trillium Cove, and worked with buyers and sellers on several commercial properties, including the Townsend IGA, Townsend Volunteer Fire Department Station 4, and vacant parcels along East Lamar Alexander Parkway. My experience includes 25 plus years of real estate development experience, and I'm very familiar with the planning process, having worked with many municipalities on dozens of projects. And then he had a whole resume attached too.
Okay,
Because-
we've had a chance to look at all of it, but that sort of remind us. And John,
I don't have his handy, so if somebody. Okay, John McMahon, let's see, he's currently on the CPAC Community Plan Advisory Committee, and he's also on the mural committee. Reason or desire for this board, I have a good understanding of the current properties, landowners, and community in Townsend. I also have ample time to serve.
Okay. Having reviewed those qualifications, again, let's try again, to see if we can align on another BZA member.
Please, thank you.
Okay, so we have 3 for John McMahon and 2 for Harry McIntosh.
All right, so it sounds like we've landed on John McMahon for the BZA. Okay, commissioners, now, to complete this process, I'd like to get a motion and a second to accept Tommy McAvoy and John McMahon for the BZA, and the recommendation that I will concur with for Joanne Funk for the Planning Commission. Can I have anybody willing to make that motion?
Make a motion.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much, and I'll now entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting, and we'll get ready for our workshop.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. Okay, thank you all for everybody that applied for these things. We will have additional positions available, and so congratulations to the folks who were selected. And again, we are truly blessed by the number of folks that are willing to serve our city and our community. And the next thing we will move on to, we'll take just a 1-minute break if anybody needs to get a break, and then we'll talk about our priorities for the rest of this commission.